All right, welcome back, everybody. Today is Tackle Tip Tuesday. If you've been around, you know I try to go into some, tackle tips on the ice and open water when I'm out there trying to, catch some fish for you guys to see. But today is all going to be about basically your top best ways to target jumbo perch while you're out ice fishing. Since I did the last couple videos and they were all on jumbo perch and, fishing for those guys, you guys really seem to like those, so I figured I'd do my part and try to help you guys get some of those yourself. Alright guys, so like I was saying, today's video is basically all about, it's going to be a limited, I think I have 4 or 5 ways for you guys basically to target jumbo perch yourselves. But before we get started, it is Tackle Tip Tuesday, so it goes without saying, this is my Tackle Tip Tuesday merch, the TTT, that's what that stands for. Link is down in the description in all my videos, so is all the products that I use. Basically, if I use it and it works, I try to link it down below for you guys to use yourself, and then you can duplicate what I'm doing in these videos. But otherwise, if you guys want to help me get out of this house and go film these videos, the ones that you've seen before this, go on DWC Outdoors, the merch link down below, and pick up some merch. That helps me get out and film for you guys. So let's get started on this. I think I am going to start on my rods. Stuff that you guys would probably want to look into, because I had a few questions on what rods I was using and like why I was using them and like if I like them and stuff like that. So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail here on the rods that I use to start out with. Okay, so before we talk about the rods here, this is an Otter Sportsman's case. I get this asked a lot, and it is linked in my description if you guys want to pick it up. It's not a cheap case. Like, I won't even lie to you guys, it's not cheap. I think it's like $100 for this case. But this case has lasted me, I think, 6 years right now. 6 or 7 years. And as long as you can do this with your reels, as long as you can fold down your reels in here, you can fit, I believe I fit 8 rods in here, so 4 on each side. So that's kind of how you can figure them that way. But yeah, if you guys are asking about the case, it's linked in the description. It's the Otter Sportsman's case, so you guys can go online and get that yourself. But right now, what we will start with, and what I usually start with, is my sight rod, my Tuned Up Customs bullwhip. So let's get into that. Okay, so this is the Tuned Up Customs bullwhip. For anybody that doesn't know what it is 100% a replacement for the spring bobber. Let me tighten this up real quick. So these reels I have linked in the description too. I've just been using these for a while, a couple of years actually, and it's just one of my go-to reels right now. I do like a bunch of different brands and stuff like that. It's just, this is what I use right now. So if you guys are interested in these reels, they're linked below too. But you don't necessarily have to use this reel. But for the rod, I wanted to show you guys. So I was fishing something else, but I had a tungsten on here. But this is just a Custom Jigs and Spins rat finky. If you guys don't know, I like pink. But I wanted to show you guys, basically, the purpose of this rod is to eliminate needing a spring bobber. So if you take care of your stuff, these rods will look perfectly straight for years. I've had this rod, I believe, for 6 or 7 years now. I take care of it. I actually use this reel on open water, so I take it off every spring and put it on my open water reels. But the reason for this rod is this. So if I'm going to let this drop, and I'm going to set that right next to it. If you guys can see that bounce. So this thing is nothing. Like, it's hard to show you how small that little rat finky is. But when I drop it, you can see the tip of that bounce. But needless to say, here, it stands out against my DWC Outdoors shirt real well. This is what you're using this for. So that right there could be all those jumbo perch ever do. They don't even, I mean, sometimes it's just that. I don't know if you guys can actually see that, but like, like a 1/4 of an inch movement. But I've trained myself to watch for that, because this rod, like when you look when you're looking down at a hole, you can see those little tiny movements. Now, I had somebody ask me, and I want to address this real quick before I switch rods on you guys. When you're running a little bit heavier tungsten, your rod will load up. Somebody was asking me specifically about this bullwhip. If you're fishing tungsten and it's loaded up like this, that's okay, because even if it's loaded like that and that perch just pulls it down just a little bit more, you can still see that movement. But the best thing is for crappie and all those other things, well, anything else, even perch do it. If they pick up your bait and they just sit there, you see that. So like a heavy tungsten, they grab the heavy tungsten and it goes up like that. So that's an up bite. So you can get both bites with this rod setup. Mine is if you guys want the same exact one, it's a 30-inch split grip. I'll link Tuned Up Customs website below, and you guys can go and check these out if you want to. Once again, this whole setup is not cheap. I've prided myself on making sure to get exactly what I want for ice fishing. It's where I live the most. I love being on the hard water. I fish year round. So if you guys are interested in subscribing to watch more than just ice fishing, I fish year round. I do stuff outdoors year round. But if you guys know me from being past subscribers, you know I live on the hard water. So my thing is eventually I wanted a really good rod and reel setup for my panfish that I'm addicted to catching. I actually like giant bluegills, but I digress. The big perch, simple as this. Slight down bites, put a big tungsten on here, loaded with, red spikes or whatever. They grab it, it goes up, you still know they're there. So this is, I call this like tell no lie stick, because when it's flat, like I said, if you take your stuff, it's flat, no matter what. If it goes this way, you got a bite, or if you have it heavy and it goes up, you got a bite. It's really, really very seldom I don't know a fish is biting my hook with my Tuned Up Customs bullwhip. So that's just a simple demonstration, but this is my first thing, my first go-to thing for when I'm targeting big perch. And it's not something a lot of people think about. For whatever reason, they don't think about sight rods or spring bobbers and all that stuff. A lot of the old school guys will. They run like a spring bobber on the end of theirs. I wanted to eliminate extra stuff. So that's why I got the bullwhip, because this is my spring bobber rod, and it can handle big walleye, northern pike, anything else that'll bite. I've caught many, many different fish on this. So if you guys are looking for them, I can't say enough about this rod. Like I said, I've been using it for like 6 years. When I bought it, I put this reel on it right away because I wanted something with a really good drag. So if you guys want something with a really good drag right out of the box, these Revo S10s, they're really good. But like I said, I use a bunch of different stuff, so this isn't all I use, but this reel is all I have on my rods right now just because they all match. But let's get on to the next thing. Okay, so like I said before, I have this reel on these rods. This is one of the main reasons, so you just back reel this and then lay it down, and then you can put it in your cases just fine. It's a 1000, so it's a smaller bodied reel. It doesn't take up a lot of room. The bail's not huge on it. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these rods. So first things first, I go in with the sight rod. Usually if I'm using the sight rod and they're active fish, I will switch over from like a tungsten or a jig to spoons. This is just one of my JB Lures Big Bad Bow spoons. It's in the sunfish color that I happen to use this one the most usually for targeting perch. But so I'll put that spoon on this rod with a lot of people think these hinder stuff or prevent bites. I've never noticed a difference because I catch fish. So you can talk all you want about clips and this and that, but it's really hard to show you guys. So there's an inline swivel, and then I forgot what these are called. It's just like the end of a swivel, but it's a clip or fast clip or whatever you call them. Snap clip. I can't think of the name of it right now. If you know what the name of this is, please comment below so everybody else can. I'll pin your comment so that I can have everybody know what this thing's called. But I run those two because things like you know, like this spoon, when you bounce them around, they spin and stuff. That prevents line twist. But the main reason that I use this precision, which is this one's a 32-inch precision split grip. So if you guys want that same thing, that's what I have. Like I said, I'll link Tuned Up Customs site below so you guys can go check them out. None of these rods are cheap, by the way. Like, that's the hard thing that I'm going to tell you guys. I do have other rods that I'll list here in a second that are cheap. You can just get them pretty much anywhere. But the reason I get this one, so you'll see this one's a pretty stout tip. So if I unhook this, like, I'm pulling pretty decently on there. If you're fishing walleye or anything bigger like giant crappie, this will load up and you can kind of use it as a sight rod. But I use this rod. Here, let me hook this real quick. I use this rod 100%. So I'll be holding it pencil style, so like this. That's why I get the split grip. So you see how it's sitting it's right up against my bone in my hand right there. So the way I'm holding this allows me to have the most control over that tip here. So, you know, if I'm trying to do little movements or big movements, it's all into my wrist. Like, I don't have to move my arm around and like maneuver a bunch of stuff. I can set my arm on my leg and do little jig strokes, and like it allows you to fine tune everything, which as you get better at fishing, you'll understand that more. If you already understand that, then you'll really understand why I go with a feel rod. That's what I call this, is a feel rod. So what you're looking for is the telegraph of that tiny little tap to come through your rod into your hand. So when they bite something like this, perch do this thing, like even the big perch, when they come up, even when they suck it in, it feels more like a tap a lot of times, unless your rod just loads up, and that just means they swallowed it. And then you're having a really good day that day. You all know what it's like when a fish comes in and just swallows your bait, starts swimming away, and your rod loads up. But if they're biting finicky or whatever, and they just kind of tap, those jumbo perch, I love this rod for that. And I caught a bunch of them on it. This one has many, many different purposes. I run my jigging wraps on it, my ripping wraps, my spoons. That's pretty much what I use this precision for. But I've went into many, many detail on this, and I don't want to go too much longer. If you guys have any questions about why I use a feel rod, other than the fact that it's a feel rod, feel free to ask them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them the best of my knowledge of why I'm using this rod. Big thing is it feels good, it's light, and it does exactly what I want it to do. It tells me there's a fish down there when they're just nibbling on it and not loading up a rod. It could be said you could be using a sight rod for some of this stuff, but anything heavier than a 1/32 ounce spoon, you'd want something with a little bit more backbone, and you're looking for that telegraph, that feel. Let's go into the next rod, and the next rod you'll understand, I'm pretty sure, in a couple seconds, so we won't go into this much detail with the next one. Okay, so I always have this ready to go. I keep this reel maintained. This is a Cardinal S5. I forgot who makes Cardinal. Now that I think about it. Abu Garcia. So this is, Cardinal. It was a really popular reel for a long time. As you guys can see, I taped the crap out of this thing. So this is part of this rod, basically. The reason I did that was this short little stumpy thing. The reason I use a short little rod like this is because this is my permanent dead stick. This is the one you use in your house, in an ice house, or if it's nice outside and your holes aren't freezing up. Slip bobber, small split shot, really small treble hook. And basically, this is for setting, like I said, this isn't a really difficult concept. You put a fat head on there. You can actually load these up with, what are they, spikes? If you guys don't know what spikes are, they're like little maggots. But if you put a bunch of red maggots on there and you're in an area where there's a bunch of jumbo perch and you're using the precision to jig spoons and they're coming in and looking at it but they don't bite, you could have this, so you could be jigging in this hole and you could have your flasher in that hole, but this one could just be an empty hole sitting next to you in your shack or just next to you on the ice with a dead stick. So the bobber's just sitting there. And if you don't know about dead sticks, it's probably the best way to kind of guarantee yourself a fish. So when they come in, obviously, if, like I said, if you're having a good day and they're biting your bait super easy, cool. You don't ever need to worry about this. But if you're having a day where they're kind of like being iffy, put a small minnow on these. Figure out, ask the local bait shops and stuff like that what the best minnow for the area is, because it varies completely. This is a tip for you guys. Wherever you're located could be completely different than where you live type thing. So simple as that. Minnow, slip bobber, dead stick. Set this on the side of the hole and leave your bail open like that. Just every once in a while, glance at your bobber. If you mark a fish and it goes away, look at your bobber right away. Just babysit the thing. And a lot of times you'll actually bring fish on the minnow that's swimming down there. And I've actually had it go the other way around, where they come in, look at the minnow, come over and hit your bait. Because you're actively jigging one and the minnow's just kind of sitting in place. Maybe it's not natural or something. But I've also caught some of my biggest perch just having a dead stick next to me. So this is a very valuable tool that is extremely cheap. This is like a $25 combo thing that was at a store. I have a whole video on like cheap setups. If you go into my ice fishing playlist from last year or the year before that, I did for everyone that's just starting out. But I did add the nicer reel to it, just so if I hook into, like, because you're running a minnow, you hook into a northern bass or a walleye or something like that, you got a drag to handle them, and that's what happens when you're fishing with minnows. But the dead stick rod, always have one of these. I don't care who you are, get yourself a cheap little dead stick rod, 25 bucks. You can save that up, people. Okay, so last but not least is the iFish Pro and another version of the dead stick. I'm going to pull this out real quick, just kind of show you guys a quick overview. If you know what they are, you already know what I'm talking about, but this is for anybody that's never seen one or, might be looking into getting one. So this is a very simple tip-up. This is actually one of their older ones. The new ones are insulated on the bottom, and I've had this one forever. That's why there's tape on the flag and stuff like that. That actually helps me see it better in the snow. But yeah, so you stick the rod in the rod holder back here. Here, you can see that. So you stick it in the rod holder there, and you put the line through here, and that's why there's a little slot there, so when you come up and like you get a bite and the flag goes up. I have a whole iFish Pro video if you want to see how to use these. That's in my ice fishing playlist. But what I've done for the last 2 years is I bought these rods. You can't get them anymore. They don't make them anymore, but it's basically like the dead stick idea. So you stick this in the rod holder, and this is that new Okuma bait feeder. This is the ABF 1000. Yes. It's another 1000 reel. I like that size. I don't know if it matters really, but it has been working. I've already used it a couple different times, but when you're using this for perch, I advocate, like, if you've ever had one of these, so this is your rear drag. Let me see if I can twist that. So yeah, this is your rear drag. And when you flip this up, I don't want to pull too much line out, but see how that's on there? But then if I flip that down, it locks that rear drag. So then you have a front drag. That one I have all the way tight because I was perch fishing. So doesn't matter how tight it is, you're just reeling in perch. This is 6-pound test, so I'm not worried about breaking off. And if something big comes, you just loosen your front drag. But this with an iFish Pro definitely helped seal the deal on some of the bigger perch that I had played with on the Mississippi recently. And yeah, it's just a simple thing. I mean, it's an iFish Pro, so you get an iFish Pro. Tuned Up Customs actually has a dead stick for stuff like this, so that would probably be your best bet to pair that up with this. But if it's too expensive for you or whatever, like, just get yourself a regular rod. One of these Okuma Avenger ABF, they have a 500 and a 1000. I think everything internal is the same. The 1000's just got this bigger spool on it, which I like for line twist and stuff like that. Keeps your line nice and smooth. And yeah, you can use this for many different species, not just giant perch. But I would recommend this setup over just about anything else. I mean, you can use tip-ups and stuff like that, but realistically, when a perch takes this, you can walk up, give them some line, let them eat it for a second, and then set the hook on them and reel them in with your rod. And that's just more fun, especially when you're perch fishing versus like a perch on a tip-up. You're just yanking them in on a rope, basically. It can be done. It's done every day, but I like rods and reels, so if that's what you guys are into, I would 100% pick these guys up. I have everything listed in the description below if you guys are interested in doing the exact same setup. But these are going to be, I think I had one more. Let me think. Okay, so I thought I had one more thing for you guys, but apparently that's all you need really to get yourself out there and stick some really big fish. 1, a feel rod. 2, a sight rod. Any kind of sight rod works. You can use a spring bobber rod, like I was saying. I just don't like all the extra stuff. Spring bobbers tend to freeze up too. So when you're using that, when you're using the tuned up customs bowl whip, that doesn't freeze up. And then if you get any ice on your guides, you just take it and flick it off. It comes right off of there. Nicer things usually cost more money, so like that's just why they're expensive. But like I said, you guys don't have to get one of those, but that's what I use, and there's a reason I use it. So if you've been around long enough, you understand. One of the big things, like I said, if you guys want to support the channel, DWS Outdoors merch, we got hoodies, we got shirts. I got a bunch of different stuff in the store for you guys to choose from. I actually have a hard water edition that I put together this year specifically for you guys that like ice fishing like this. So I hope I helped some of you guys out. I hope you guys get out there and be safe this year. We've got some really iffy ice conditions. You got to really pay attention and search and be safe. But otherwise, like I said, I hope everybody has a good ice season. I hope everybody gets a little bit more information out of these Tackle Tip Tuesdays. I did a lot of them this year, so obviously, if you're not new here, you know what's up. But if you are new, would you please just remember to